Hey, once again, welcome to Soul Free, your home for sneaker and street culture here on the Soul Free Radio Network and Donna Drake TV. It's Harlan on Instagram, of course, the official Harlan. And today we're out of the studio. We're hanging out at the Royal Native in Locust Valley, where the incredible show Never Over the Hill is filmed every week. And we were here earlier today, and it's so comfy on her set on Hilary's set that I figured, let's just stay here today. So thank you, Hilary, Royal Native. Check out her show, Never Over the Hill. And today's a fun one. Today's a real fun one. It's always fun, but today's a little special. For years, I was in FM radio, which translated eventually into print and a lot of other fun things. And there was a guy there that I used to work with a long time ago who went on to such other amazing things. His name was Bill Jensen, and this isn't him. and he's here. He's here today. So, Bill, welcome home, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much for having me. We're in this wonderful shop made of, with stuff made of towels. So, of course, it's going to be comfy.
Yeah.
And no, it was good to see you, and we reconnected, I think, because of our love for the Mets,
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
So, yeah, and it's good to be back. And that's the reason why I'm in New York. I'm in New York to go to opening day.
Right. And let's just like kick it old school for a second. Let's talk Mets for a minute. What was your moment? What was your Mets moment that you knew at that moment you were a Mets fan for life? What was that everybody has that moment, I think, in their head.
Yeah.
What was your moment?
I think probably, I became a fan in around 82. And I would say probably 80, really 84 or 85. But I think when Dykstra really started in 85, and I was such a big Dykstra fan. I was like, this guy's crazy. Remember he ran into the wall and like hurt his head and like he was doing all these things. And that's the moment I went out and I wanted a Dykstra jersey. It was the first time I ever got a jersey for a player. I was the first kid walking around Shea Stadium with a Dykstra jersey. And I remember somebody came up to me and said, yeah, Bob Baylor used to wear that number. He's a lot better than Dykstra, which was very strange to have a Bob Baylor defender. But eventually, when I was really into trying to meet the players, which seems to be a lot harder back then. It was. So, but he would do some appearances, and I would always be there. And then we went to one where he was, and all the players were there, and they were all selling their equipment for pretty cheap too. So he had his rookie mitt there and his cleats.
What?
His cleats were like $40 or something. And I bought those, and then the rookie rookie mitt was there, and he wanted like 300, and my dad said, "I'll flip you for it. If you win, we'll pay 400. If we win, we'll get 200." And we flipped it, and we had 200. So I have Dykstra's rookie mitt.
Wow.
From that season, and it was not like they are now. They use that stuff all year round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He had one glove and that was it. So that was that probably was the moment. And obviously, going into 80, in 85 also was when they had first gotten Carter. Being there, having been taken out of school for opening day and seeing him win it with that home run. Falling short against the Cardinals, and then the next year was just amazing. And having been to, I was at so many of the big games. I did run on the field. I did get a piece of turf when they won. I did not rip it up though. It was a turf that was sitting on the field. And then, I was there when Carter won the game, the walk-off against Houston. One of my big regrets is I had just started going out with a girl and wanted to hang out with her, and my dad wanted to go to a game, and I hung out with her instead, and that was the Dykstra home run game.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
So
but
obviously, Good Will Hunting wasn't out yet.
Good Will Hunting was out. I got to see about a girl. Yeah, yep. So I was too busy, like hanging out with a girl and fooling around with her in the attic in Garden City, right off of Maryland Avenue stop. And then I went to games 1, and then we went to Boston for game 5.
Yeah.
And then we were at 6 and 7. And obviously 6 is legendary. And if I watch it, I will still get goosebumps. And, when game 6, we focus so much on Buckner, it really is about Mookie's at bat. You know what I mean? It's a team that and Mookie, and I got the chance to meet Mookie finally this year. And I was just like, you weren't going to let the universe call the third strike on you,
Nope.
And a lesson that Beltran could have learned. But it was the fact that if you watch that at bat and how close we were so many times to just losing by inches, and he just kept battling and battling.
11
and then
pitches? 11?
I think it was, yeah.
11?
And then once the pass ball happened, there was no way we were losing that game. There was no way we were losing that series. And we were down 3-0 in the next game too, but it never felt like we were going to lose. That was crazy. And I met, I'll show you this. I got this is a Yankee, but I remember Gary Carter and Mickey Mantle had these lithographs made of them, and we went and met them. And I remember meeting Mickey Mantle, and that was, my dad loved Mickey Mantle, and I remember him saying, like, "Did you shake his hand?" Like, that was such a big thing for our dad.
That was the selfie.
Yeah,
that was the selfie then.
Yeah. Did you shake his hand? And like, I remember at a New York Islanders game, us tracking down Jerry Cooney, and my dad's like, "Jerry, shake my son's hand," because he was going to be the next heavyweight champion. That didn't work out, but because he didn't know how to tie up in the punch. He was a great puncher though. But so I have this Mickey Mantle wallet, right? So it's made out of a glove.
Oh wow!
Talking about upcycling here. We are in a den of upcycling.
Yes, we are.
And I wanted to get everybody that was involved in that rally, in the Game 6 rally, their autographs. So I got Mookie.
Oh,
So it's like, "Mookie, signed my wallet." He said it was the first time you were signed a wallet.
Yeah.
And then I got Ray and I got Mitchell. I was able to to get all them. And then I got Ron Swoboda just for, who made that amazing catch. So, but yeah, cool. So that's, and the Mets have always been a big part. Like my dad passed away in 98. And the last thing I did with him in the hotel room was watch a Met game with him, So it very much is, it's a part of me and who I am. And, baseball is such I think so. I just saw somebody write, like, it's a sport for romantics and depressives.
Yep.
Because it's so long and there's so much stuff that happens in it, but it really is the most dramatic thing, sport, in my opinion, and it's got so much weird history and so many weird rules and everything. So I really do love it. Yeah.
You're saying that if you had to compare baseball to an album, it would almost be like My Chemical Romance is like Black Parade. It would be, it really is. It's opera for the mind, baseball. And I think that's what I love most about it.
I would say Abbey Road. Like this.
Okay.
I would say the second half of Abbey Road.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just all of that. The highs and lows of that. That whole, orchestral thing that they did at the end of there, and then nailing the ending, And that's the thing is the difference between Yankees and Mets is, like, Yankees are about tradition and excellence.
Yeah.
The Mets are about fun and magical moments.
Totally.
It's about, not winning for so long, but having these moments that are going to be etched in your mind forever.
Yeah.
And we were able to get that in last year with Pete Alonso's home run. That moment.
What a moment.
So I was at the Citi Field watch party, and we were pretty down. Everybody was thinking, all right, Alonso's gone probably. We were down 2-0. Pete comes up. I had gotten all the food was cheap there because it was the first time they had done it, but I had gotten the helmet full of popcorn. Yeah. And I bought it in like the 8th inning. So the popcorn was all stale. It wasn't very good, but I was holding on to it because I thought something might happen. And Pete steps up, and this is the first, but a lot of people don't realize this is the first time a team has ever come back to win a game in the 9th inning or above in a winner-take-all game. This has never happened. This is the stuff that they write every movie about, but it's the only time it's ever happened was Pete. And also the fact that Pete was going to go out as a GOAT, not a GOAT meaning greatest of all time, is like a kind of a failure as a Met. And he stepped up and hit that home run, and the popcorn went flying. I didn't know this, but they actually had a camera on us. And then the Mets started using that as a GIF in, like, buy tickets for the next series and things. So I've been known as Popcorn Man now. I've solved 6.
That's a moment. I've
solved 6 murders, but I'm known as Popcorn Man with the Mets, which I'm okay with. So, but just everything, and like hanging out with the 7-line guys, and going to spring training this year and doing the 5K with the 7-line guys. It's been a lot of fun, and there's so much of a great creator community.
It's huge.
Just from Jingle Mets, and then you've got Joey Paints, who actually, I was down there and he had written this, can anybody get me one of those hats? The spring training hats. I said, yeah, I'm down here. And he's just like, I'll give you a painting. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And so he did the Pete home run, and he has the popcorn toss and everything. Yeah, which is so cool. I put it up on my Instagram, and just the vintage Mets guy, who's great, and the amazing Met Zone, and then the kids, the City Boys and all that. There's just so much. Evan, the kid that does the sneakers,
Yep.
I mean, there's just so much creativity there, and the Mets have also fostered that too.
Yeah.
So I really dig it, and it's a cool. I'm really excited to see all my friends when I go to opening day.
Yeah, it's family. I mean, we've had J-Mac, we've had Cake Don on here
J-Mac
a
and
bunch
Cake
of
Don
times.
too. That's right.
And it's it really is a lot of fun. So, both of us, are very similar, where I think we both have this innate love for baseball. And we'll get to what Billy does and, 6 murders he solved and everything in a little while. But, we both have this innate love for baseball. We both lost our fathers relatively young. Do you feel that the love of baseball came from your father?
I think it came, and I realized this because
Yeah.
of my son too, is that I think he wanted to go to games just so he can talk with me.
Yeah.
And I find that doing with my son is that, my son's 25 now. I drag him to games and spring training and everything because we can actually have a conversation for 2.5 hours, and there's no real distractions. And then we watch some of the games, and it's great. But he's not a huge baseball fan. He's more into video games and things. And I'll take him to I wrote a story for Long Island Voice back in '98, right before he passed, called "My Dad Kicked Your Ass at Shea," and it was all about all of our adventures and him getting into fights and stuff at Shea. And I said, and at Yankee. And I had said, my daughter had just been born. I was like, whatever she wants to go to, I'll go to. Because he had taken me to World Series and the Islander Stanley Cups and WrestleMania and all these things. So my son was a big League of Legends fan. He was a big Minecraft fan. So I took him to Minecon, which was in Paris, 10 years ago. And I've taken him to the Worlds for League of Legends and things, So just a matter of it's very much a family oriented thing. And now I have a grandson actually, and a granddaughter, and my grandson likes going to the game. So, and I like taking him, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I feel like if you grew up on Long Island or Queens, I'm not going to give the love to the other boroughs right now. I don't feel like you really did grow up on Long Island or Queens if your father did not get into a fight at Shea Stadium.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Right?
No, he used to, and I didn't realize this. This wasn't a thing that every dad's did. We had a Chrysler Cordoba. Yeah. He would put his bottle of beer in the center console. Yeah. So eventually it would spill every now and then. So the center console was a congealed mess of beer and coins. And then, so he would drink on the way to the game, and then we would sneak in 3 bottles in the binoculars case.
Oh yeah,
and because he never wanted to pay. I mean, he would freak out with how much the beer is now, but he didn't want to pay the beer, and then he would drink there, and then drive home. And I just thought that's what everybody did. Yeah. And he would we brought the binoculars so he could watch the fights in the stands.
Yeah,
especially I remember there was a double header. This was Yankee, a doubleheader was the Orioles were coming, and he's like, there's going to be a lot of, because this is before they stopped serving.
Yeah.
So he was like, the second game is going to be a mess. And it was. Yeah. There were so many fights in the second game because everybody was hammered.
Yeah.
And, the fights, we had been kicked out a few times. And, he never really came to blows, though. Once he stood up, he was just so menacing that everybody always backed down. And he also, we never had tickets ahead of time. We always bought tickets from scalpers. Always bought tickets from scalpers. And everybody always thought he was a cop because he had a mustache. And he's like, I'm a cop. I come around with a 10-year-old boy. That's what we do, you know? And, but the same guys we would see at, outside the, at Nassau Coliseum with that wind whipping. Remember how the wind used to just whip through Nassau Coliseum parking lot? Meeting by the Rock. And then Shea. And I remember the one time, in Shea for Game 6 and 7, I think we got the tickets in a hotel room, in one of those sketchy hotel rooms.
There was so much sketch that went on around that.
And the sketchy hotel room by the airport, you had to go up there, and then we bought Game 7, but if we were shit out of luck if Game 7 didn't happen, because that's the way it was. There's no StubHub or anything.
No.
And he was also the king of giving the the usher for $20 to
Oh,
move
yeah.
us up. Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was he loved doing that. So we were
Yeah.
constantly doing that. And
Yeah.
it was such a it was a bonding experience for us, and it really is. Baseball, I think, is that you really are just waiting, and you're with somebody, and when you're watching a game, you're talking about life. You know,
Yeah.
you're talking about things other than the game.
Yeah.
And also, he thought I was going to be a house painter like he was, and then once he realized it wasn't my grades, it was how much I knew about the game and the stats and stuff. He's like, I should start saving for college because I think he might be smart. So he didn't get that from school. He got that from baseball.
Oh, totally. My father's side of the family, to this day, our language is baseball. Like when my grandfather was still alive, and my uncle and my cousin now, that side of the family is super educated. I mean, principals and doctors and whatnot. But our entire language is baseball, and I think that's the beauty of baseball, and I hope it continues to go on. But you mentioned something. You mentioned Nassau Coliseum. So post Islander game, were you guys Vincent's Clam Bar or Fridays? What was your post Islander game?
Well, post Islander game, we were never really post Islander game. You know,
Yeah.
was Borelli's open post Islander game?
Yeah. Borelli's was a thing.
Yeah. I mean, Vincent's Clam Bar would usually be pre. You know,
Okay,
that was
so
it.
you
Yeah,
pre at Vincent's.
Pre at Vincent's if we did pre, but because we knew we had to go get tickets too.
Yeah.
So, and we were
Because you never had the tickets.
no, we never had the tickets.
Right.
So Nassau calls it, and he's in the paper when they first made the cup. He was in the paper, like because he actually organized the line that was outside because the line was so disorganized. So he
Right.
actually started organizing people, and it was remember getting in the paper back then was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that ends getting into Newsday.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah. And then, that's the whole thing too. It's like, unfortunately, like the fact that I, after he passed, I did start writing part 2 cover stories for Newsday and things, which he really would have gotten a kick out of. But yeah, it was such a, I remember my dad painted Wayne Robbins' house, who was the music critic for Newsday. And I always thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, he writes for Newsday. It was back then when we used to revere journalists. And, Nassau Coliseum, man. I was talking about this with my sisters. He made them take me, because they were a lot older than me, to the Prince Purple Rain tour that was at,
Wow.
And I saw, I've seen Bowie there. I saw The Cure, REM, U2 on Joshua Tree tour. That was probably
You were so much more cultured than I.
Yeah.
I for me it was Motley Crue and Aerosmith and GNR and
I would have loved to have seen GNR in their heyday, though. That's one of my and not seeing Nirvana. Like I think I had tickets for Nirvana and not seeing them and not paying attention to Pearl Jam. I think I saw Pearl Jam 3 times and I was just always there for like the Pumpkins or something. So I didn't even pay attention to Pearl Jam.
I had tickets for the New York Coliseum show. And then a friend of ours had him and his girlfriend at Binghamton. He was going to Binghamton University at the time. He just found out his girlfriend was pregnant. So I blew off my Nirvana tickets at the New York Coliseum, went and saw my friend at Binghamton saying that, I'll see him at Lala this summer. It never happened.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Lala. That was going to be Lala.
Yeah.
That would have been killer. Yeah.
Choices we make.
Yeah.
So besides being an incredible Mets fan, and I think we actually like baseball even more than Kevin Costner. I think we can speak more romantically about baseball than Kevin Costner.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Costner is divided between baseball and the American West, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
But have you watched that show? That
No,
Yellowstone?
no.
I started
People
watching
love it. People
I
love
started
it.
watching it, and it's just this isn't necessarily a spoiler.
Yeah.
If they have a problem,
Yeah.
they just kill the person. That's really
Yeah.
And also, you can tell that they're not making that much money on this ranch. It's like Sons of. It's very similar to Sons of Anarchy,
Yeah.
where it's just like they're killing a lot of people for very little amount of money. They're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, we've got 7 guns, we've got to run. It's like,
Yeah.
how much are they paying for these guns and selling them for? And meanwhile, they're killing people over like 15 guns. It's like, okay, guys, really? So, yeah.
But besides this great part of our lives, so I met Bill. I met you when you were, in the beginning of your journalism career.
Yeah.
Which has between Village Voice, Long Island Voice, Long Island Press, the Boston Phoenix, which eventually brought you to Spin, writing for Spin and Rolling Stone and L.A. Times and this, that, and every huge periodical out there. There's that side of your world. There's the print side, where an incredible best-selling book, Chase Darkness with Me, and also your book, Unravel, the Long Island Serial Killer.
Oh, that was a TV show.
Oh, that was the TV show. My bad.
And,
My
and,
bad.
and a podcast, yeah.
Right. And that I got to imagine there's a whole that's it seems like that's the story that just never ends. And now I know there's the Netflix special Gone Girls. So I got to imagine that's probably getting a whole second, third, and fourth life every time a new part of this case pops up. But let's just I'm even trying to think where to start. You go from writing these incredible investigative pieces to actually becoming a source for FBI or the police world who are coming to you. Talk to me about that journey.
Yeah.
It's one of the most interesting stories, and I'm blessed to call you a friend, a brother. But it's such a, I mean, this is so when you're sitting home watching CSI, and you're like, oh no, I could do this. Billy actually did it. Billy actually wrote books about it and then became that person. So talk to me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah.
It's sick.
Yeah, so I had been writing, I got my start writing sports.
Yeah.
And I was writing about hockey fights, a hockey zine. That's how the Village Voice found me. And then, I did a couple of Mets games. My first game ever was the Bobby Valentine mustache game, which was crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah. And, but I started writing crime for New York Times. And I really learned very early on that I only wanted to do Unsolved. So I could really I wanted to pick and choose. So I became an editor and I would write the crime on the sides and I would do just unsolved cases. But when you're doing that for a decade, 2 decades, really, it was just you're writing stories with no ending. So no matter how good of a reporter you are and writer, you don't have an ending. And it gets you, it can affect you. And obviously it's the people that you're talking to and they're very thankful that you're paying attention to their son's murder. But it's hard. So one night I had been... I was up late and I saw this video of this family talking about, can you find this guy? And it's a guy that a guy had been attacked on the street in Chicago in a place, a neighborhood called River North. And it was about 4 a.m. Guy punches him. He's out cold. He lands in a crosswalk. And then the guy yells at people who are trying to help him. 2 people come and rifle through his pockets, and then he's just sitting there, laying down there for about a minute, and then a cab runs over him and kills him. So I was watching that, and then I'm seeing the video of this guy, and it's a grainy video, but I was like, this guy looks like we should be able to find who he is, and it's been 3 months, and why? So I contact the police, and I start thinking, I was like, I think I could probably find this guy with social media. Contact the police. They still didn't know who he was. And I was like, I'm going to try something. They're just like, yeah, whatever. So I started a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and didn't do an Instagram at that point. So this is like 2016 of this guy calling it, almost acting like it's me. So River North Puncher. Do you know who I am? And I got a bunch of retweets from it. I would just beg people for retweets when I first started it. And the guy, Barstool Big Cat, retweeted it. And somebody replied to us and said, I hope this helps. And it was a front-facing photo of him because all the other ones were from above because it was like a traffic camera and a 7-Eleven camera. And I was like, I wrote to him right away. I was like, did you make this? I thought it was some sort of 3D thing that he might have made. And then I'm trying to get him to talk. And that's one of the things that you realize is that you want it. When I was doing this really, really heavily, and I still do it now, but when I was really doing it heavily, I would never sleep because if somebody would message me, you have to message them right back because they're feeling, it might be a friend of theirs that they might, they might be drunk. You want to get the information. So he doesn't write me for a day. Then finally he goes, my friend was there and he took this video, and this video starts with the victim, whose name is Marcus Gaines, who's a bartender, really nice guy, on the ground, and then it pans up, and then the guy, the puncher, is walking straight towards me. And I was like, holy shit, this guy was there. And so then I took that front-facing thing, and now I knew how tall he was. And he had a very distinctive widow's peak. And Cook County, which is the county that Chicago is in, puts all of their mug shots up online. So I just went through all of them looking for this guy, and I found 3 of them that could be good. One of them was a guy named Marcus Moore. I went to Chicago and walked around with that photo. And third guy I talked to said, yeah, that's Big Dummy, they call him. His real name is Marcus. And I put it all together gave it to the police. And then I also found, so with that, I found his Facebook page, and it said he was living in Holbrook, New York. Like he had skipped town, was living in Holbrook. I said, that's bullshit, because there was a picture of him with in the background was the truck of and it was if you zeroed in on it, there was a Minneapolis work truck, and his brother was from Minneapolis. So it was like he's at his brother's house in Minnesota. So I gave all that information, and then it was a matter of just hounding the police. And finally, I got through LinkedIn. I found a former chief of homicide detectives. He worked some background channels, and then they got him like 3 weeks after Christmas. And I got a phone call from his cousin just saying, we got him. Yeah. So then that started, and then I just started like, wow, this is like, I can't believe that we can do this. And then I've done. I still failed a lot more than I've succeeded, but I was able to find a guy that killed a fast food worker in El Monte, California. Found a guy that killed somebody in Norfolk, Virginia, and found a fugitive, found a missing person. So, but it takes money too, and New York ones are tough. There's one in New York. There's a woman who was murdered in Owl's Head Park in Brooklyn. Mutilated in a skate park. And there's video. So I was high from these 2 murders, the El Monte one and that one. And then was this video of this guy walking with her, then walking by himself afterwards. Really clear video. And I said, I'm going to get this guy in a week. And I'm still looking for him. I probably spent like $3,500 on geo-targeted ads, like targeting that area. And then doing ads in Egyptian, Farsi, and in Spanish, and all of that. And then I know, and I make sure that the family knows that I'm doing it, because they're going to see the ads. You know? I was posting that ad so much and bought so many ads for that. Somebody on Twitter, I remember saying, "Can someone just catch this fool already?" So I had to think, like, I hit more than 1 million people in New York, but I'm still looking for him. There's a guy in Philadelphia that was just shot in the back of the head that I'm still looking for his killer. And it was really, the guy's wearing a mask, but he pulls it down a little bit. And I still can't believe I haven't gotten him either. And it's just a matter of just getting it in front of the right person, then working that tip. Like I've had people contact me and even say like a stupid comment, but there's something and then I'll DM them because there's something about the comment that's a little weird. I've gotten a name from that actually, because I kind of knew, and then I start talking to him, and then it turns out this was a guy who was a romantic rival or something, and then was able to catch him that way. So I did that, wrote a book about it, called Chase Darkness with Me, and that became a bestseller, which is great. And so my second book was about the opioid epidemic, which doesn't have any solves, unfortunately, because those were the cops. A lot of it is about the cops not doing their jobs and also being possibly complicit in some of the murders. A lot of sex workers, and that took place mostly in Ohio. And so now it's just it just keeps going, and it does. Listen, there's 240,000 unsolved murders since 1980 in America. And I'm so goal-oriented, I'm so numbers-oriented, probably from baseball, that I'm just like, all right, you're not really, it's such a drop in the bucket what you're doing, but you just got to keep going. Yeah.
It's incredible. You're Batman.
Adam West Batman.
Adam West Batman?
Yes. And R.I.P. Val Kilmer.
I was just going to say, rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer. Yeah. That guy ruled the 90s, man. Jeez. You know what I mean? I mean, that string of, The Doors, the Doors was the first movie I ever went to with my wife. Just going from The Doors to Heat, which is an amazing movie, Tombstone, and Batman Forever, and Thunderheart. Thunderheart's a great movie, too.
Top Gun.
In Top Gun, you know what I mean? So, I always thought he was solid. But yeah, no, I like to consider myself the Adam West Batman. That was my Batman.
That's your Batman?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, the other guys are all good, but that was my Batman. Yeah.
Michael Keaton revived Batman for me.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
that was big.
He was good. And I like how he still played. He's still like on Batman. Yeah, which is great because he's perfect. So, you do feel like Batman. I do write that in my book as be like Batman, but be like the Adam West Batman, because he very much follows the law. And I always tell people, if you want to do this, don't name names in public, because that's one of the worst things that you can do, because you're not always going to be right. And don't dox other people, because you always see, especially when these bigger cases, I never do the bigger cases because everybody's doing those,
Yeah.
you know? So, but then they all start yelling at each other and everything, and so start, it's just a mess. And I always tell people, like, whenever they're trying to solve this or that or do this and that, it's like the Luigi Mangione case, where it's like, no, don't try and do this. Try and do the other 200,000 murders that are unsolved. Work on those, because you might be able to work and solve those. So yeah, and it's for if people want to do this kind of thing, if you reach out to the police, and don't take money. You don't ever ask for money. I don't ever ask for the reward. The reward is for the tipster. And know that another thing is that for a story that I wrote for where we were for the Long Island Press, it was called Long Island's Lost Girls, and it was about 3 women who had left Long Island and then didn't come back. And there was a woman named Jennifer Wilmer, and she, she's still missing. Out in Eureka, California. Her mom passed away, which was my point of contact. But then 5 years ago, her niece wrote me, who had been like a little kid in the story. We were in a picture of her she was holding her, and I was just like, it doesn't end. I remember getting a pet. Maybe it might have been at North Shore Animal League, getting a dog, and I remember there was a sign that said, "Are you sure you're ready for this 15-year commitment?" And that's another thing that I tell people, is that if you really want to do this and get involved and talk to families, are you sure you're ready for this at least 15-year commitment? Because if they contact you, you can never say I'm busy. You can never say, you know what I mean? You can be honest with them, but don't say, oh, I don't have time or anything like that.
Yeah.
You've inserted yourself into this. You better keep on talking to them.
And I got to imagine, once you're in it, it's got to be completely consuming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. And and it can be devastating too, because there's so many leads that don't pan out.
Yeah.
So that's why I always have a bunch of irons in the fire. I can't just have one.
Yeah.
I saw that with a friend of mine was writing a book about the Golden State Killer, and then she passed away. I would see her get so excited for something. Like she came to drinks once with me and her editor for LA Magazine, who was my editor for one of the stories I wrote, and was like, I got him. I identified him via DNA, and then it turns out it wasn't him. And it's just like, I know, just like that come down. So having other ones that you can go to is really important. Yeah. And
I got to imagine too, you mentioned Luigi Mangione right now, that case that's going on where, it seems like, I mean, obviously these things have been going on for years, but it seems like for the first time, law enforcement was very public about using AI and about using, geotags and this and that. And, they're all of a sudden they have them on a bus 3 days before coming into New York, and they have this whole journey. Do you see more and more of that kind of investigation going on in today's day and age? Or is it, or did this just catch the headlines because it was, a representative of $1 billion company?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
It's the difference is they'll do it all the time in Europe, because Europe, they have so few murders.
Yeah.
You get a murder in Europe and they'll put 30 detectives on it and they'll work it until it's done. Here, you get a murder, if it's a quote unquote regular person, they'll work it for a week, and then that's it, because they got another one, and that's the bottom line on it's a matter of resources. But yeah, they're not doing all of that stuff for every case. Right. They would be able to solve a lot of them, but obviously something like the Idaho case, you'll see that going as well. But I wanted to see what he was seeing. I happened to be in New York when right after it happened.
That was amazing. I saw your feed. That gave me the chills.
So I stayed at I'd never stayed in a hostel before.
Yeah.
I got married very young. I had kids very young, so I never did the whole Europe hostel thing. So I stayed up in the hostel on the Upper West Side, and got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, got one of those bikes, which I haven't ridden a bike in 20 years, rode through, which was gorgeous, riding through Central Park, the same thing that he did, and seeing the lights of Tavern on the Green and everything, and then just parking the bike, going to the Starbucks, and then waiting for him outside, and then talking to the the doormen who didn't hear the shot because he did have a silencer. The doormen thought when they were driving up, when the police started coming up, they thought they were going after this homeless guy who had been messing with other people. But then they saw another car coming. It was like, oh, something must have happened. And they walked around and then saw him laying on the ground. And I remember one of the guys saying, like, he looked like a fit guy, the victim. He was a bigger guy. And, we're in a weird time in America. America, the whole world sees America as really gun owners from the Westerns. Mm-hmm. And that really comes from the Westerns and now from them. But it really is, we're the only ones that had that, really. And, in the West, the most cowardly thing you could do is shoot an unarmed man in the back.
Yes. Yep. And
this Luigi Mangione thing happens because there is such a separation within the classes now.
Yeah.
That he becomes this cult hero, and people are raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for him and that kind of thing. So it's a weird time for America. The good and evil, black and white, has really been shifted.
I always feel, growing up in New York in the 80s, mm-hmm. we had a gentleman named Bernie Getz, who was, a quote-unquote vigilante. Yeah. As celebrated as he was then, I feel like today he, would really be a hero. I almost feel like we're going back to like a self-governing law enforcement society because we have to. Especially in New York right now.
Yeah, I think Bernie would not. It depends on who has the loudest voice. So he would be a hero maybe on Truth Social, but he wouldn't be a hero on Instagram or TikTok because he shot black kids.
Right.
And the black kids were armed with just screwdrivers. They weren't armed with, and then he also shot one when he was running away too. So it's weird, and then you've got people, you got John Hinckley who's trying to do a folk music career. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my God. So, and he keeps on getting booked at places, and then places will book him, and then they'll be like, "There's too much backlash," and then they stop the thing. So, and Jodie Foster still hasn't gone out with him. So, but it's a strange time. I think we're seeing that. We're seeing just with the second worst terrorist attack that we've seen in our lifetimes, and then a lot of that has gotten turned around where they're the bad guys, and that I understand where the frustration comes from, and obviously the devastation that's going on there. But also, it's just like I can't, like, if we were talking about this before we came on about our dads and what our dads would be thinking.
Oh my goodness!
If you were to tell any New Yorker that a week after 9/11 people would be supporting Al Qaeda in the streets or something like that, they would be like, what? That's insane.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in America, and it's a weird, strange time, and you only hope that because of times like this, you hope that art will rise, because that's usually what happens in moments of like this, is that great art will rise. And, I just hope we get some guitar bands back, man.
I was gonna say, who's the band that's gonna fix this? What do you think?
Yeah.
What do we? Is it Grohl? Is it Grohl? I don't know.
It's not even a matter of fixing it, man. It's a matter of just like having something to retreat to.
Yeah.
And obviously everything was going. The '60s were, because your friends were literally being sent off to war against their will. Yeah. So you were able to go and see the Doors or go see, and that show would have been the greatest show of all time or the worst show of all time, because depending on how drunk he was, much like the Replacements. So who I've seen the Replacements. And, I think that you hope that, obviously the biggest artists of the last 15, 20 years have been hip hop artists. It hasn't been the guys with the guitars or the gals with the guitars. So you just hope that some other different art, other than, the only thing that we're seeing right now is AI, and everybody upset because Studio Ghibli is being ripped off by AI now. And meanwhile, our city is, our country's burning to the ground.
Yeah. What do you do? So, and I can't applaud you enough that you brought a sense of peace and closure to 6 families, and on so many more on deck, and probably helped so many people through your writings and your talks and your TV shows and your pods and this and that. But at some point, when you close a case or you come home and you've followed 15 different leads in a day. What do you do to disconnect? What's your safe place at home?
Well, I used to drink,
Yeah.
so that was, and that wasn't. Everybody used to say, "Oh, it's of course you're a big drinker because you do this dark work," and it wasn't that. It was there's stuff way deeper than that
Sure,
because
sure.
of that. So, but I'm in recovery now. But that was usually it, and then I would do. Baseball is one of them. I like going. I like reading about the history of like Disney. I'm a 52-year-old guy. I got back into trains. I love trains, and not necessarily like the model trains, which I had as a kid, but just like I love the fact that I love Amtrak. I love all that stuff. And
Are you Bobby Bacala in the
I
garage
am
with
Bobby,
a?
I am Bobby Baca. I've watched that scene so many times. Where he's imagine drinking a Negroni,
Yeah.
going down to the shore. Is like, yeah, and just like that beautiful light blue train, and then yeah, you can see it's so funny too. They sell like some of the boxes that were hit by like the shrapnel and stuff like that at
Really?
that store. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I used to, it's one of the places my dad used to take me a lot was those stores. So yeah, and just I mean, that's one of the things about baseball is that baseball really dovetailed with sobriety in that you have a higher power. I never grew up really with a higher power, but you have this higher power, and you can't affect the game really.
Right.
You know what I mean? As much as those two Yankee fans tried, most of the time you can't affect the game, and you just got to let it play out and let the universe do whatever it's going to do.
See, I disagree with that because you holding your popcorn bucket in that position for that inning might have caused the Pete Alonso home run. Me standing in my parents' living room with my grandparents on the couch during Game 6 of the '86 World Series with this right hand on the pillow on the fold-out couch while the Mets were batting, but sitting on the other side of the living room while the Red Sox were up. Me standing there made the Mets win. So I think there is a certain amount of
Yes.
superstition in
You were
baseball
talking
that
about
could sway.
Superstition, definitely. In hockey, I played hockey and I played professional roller hockey one year. I would always put stuff left to right. That was the only superstition that
Yeah.
I had. So if I happened to absentmindedly put my stuff on, put my right skate on first, I would take it off and do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, it's superstitions, also butterfly effect, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't live like that. I can't do that anymore. I used to be like that. Yeah. But I've definitely been lucky enough that and I've dealt with depression before. I've dealt with suicide ideation. I talked about this on another podcast as well. On a podcast called Painful Lessons. Shout out to Tyler Ramsey. Is that I remember after the Pete Alonso home run, a popcorn bucket went up. You're hugging strangers. You're doing all of that. It's very similar to Game 6. Right behind that, and then I was right up with Mr. and Mrs. Met and everything, and then like walking out, I remember saying to myself, "I'm so glad I didn't kill myself because I would have missed this."
Yeah.
And that was not a thing that was, I kind of surprised myself that because I'd been feeling a lot better, but it was just like, wow, because when you get sober, you were drinking for a reason, and it was usually something mental and trying to turn off your brain, really, which is what my thing is. So when you lose that medicine, you're all alone. Yeah, you have AA and you have your sponsors and everything, and to lose all that and not have something to fill that giant hole. You had a hole there anyway, and then you were filling it with the drinking, so you couldn't think, and then you took that out, but then that hole's still there. What are you going to put back into it? So that's one of the reasons why people latch on to certain things, and more power to them. And it's not for me. It is. Yeah, I wanted the Mets to win so bad last year because it was such a magical season.
Yeah.
And to imagine if we beat the Yankee, that would have been like. If we would have done that and then lost to the Yankees, that would have been awful. But like just thinking about the Mets and like who the Mets would have maybe brought out Nas for, or they would have brought out. I was thinking they would have brought out Nas would be number one, and then see LL's not really a Mets fan though, and then the Beasties. Only Adam's a Mets fan, and then Yauch was a Mets fan. So I think Nas would have to be it, or PE.
Yeah, I was going to say either Nas or PE. I know Billy Joel was 0-3
Yes.
in World Series games.
Now,
where
you
he
can't
sang.
have Billy
no,
Joel.
we
I
can't.
remember.
Yeah, no.
You can't have Glenn
Yeah.
Close either. 'Cause
No,
she
yeah.
sang the national anthem at Game 1, I remember.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can't have Billy Joel. I think PE, if you came out and said, what do? Do you do Fight the Power? And then do you have them doing Elvis is a hero to most? You know what I mean? Which is the best line in that. Yeah. And do you do Fight the Power, or do you do Bring the Noise? You know, I think those are the two that would be the ones to do. But
Probably Bring the Noise, and Nas obviously would have had to be New York State of Mind. Yeah.
And then here's one thing that I would like, and I'll put this out to the Mets
Yeah.
right now. You have some of the Mets as well.
Yep.
Next time we have a big closer, we do have the Timmy Trumpet thing. The Terminator X song. That should be a closing song. Imagine that. I want you all to tell me the name of my DJ, Terminator, and then have him come out to the Flash Gordon theme, and then Terminator. That would be a great. What would be your walk-up song?
My walk-up song? Oof, boy. That's hard. That's hard. I think, honestly, DMC King of Rock.
Okay. Yeah, I asked Straw that, and
Yeah.
he said it was a Dougie Fresh song. He said,
Oh, yeah,
I forgot.
yeah.
He told me what the song was, but I forgot. Yeah, but I want to do that. I want to get everybody from '86. I want to
Yeah.
get what their songs would be, because like Dykstra would come up to some like Rolling Stones or something.
Yeah.
Bachman would be some country thing.
Yeah.
And then you go Hernandez would probably be like Steely Dan or something.
Should we call Doc right now and see what
Call
his
Doc
was?
right now.
All right, you hold the mic.
Yeah,
Let me get
yeah.
my
Let's
phone.
call.
Okay,
All right, we're gonna call Doc.
We're going to try to get Doc on the line. And honestly, none of this is, we didn't set any of this up in advance, so
No.
we're just taking a shot right now. Let's just see if
Yeah,
he's-
King of Rock would be good. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
I was
see.
thinking like, yeah.
Let's see.
Hello?
Hey, buddy.
What's up, bro?
Hey, you're on speakerphone.
Okay.
All right, say hi to Bill. We're actually on the podcast right now.
Hey, what's up, Doc?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
How you doing, man?
All right,
Good. How's everything?
Everything's good.
really quick question.
Thanks. Okay.
We're talking about walk-up songs, okay? I said mine would probably be DMC King of Rock. If you were still playing today, what would your walk-up song be?
I don't know who sings it, but remember that song? These are the good times. Good times.
Oh,
Remember that song?
the Good Times theme.
No.
Oh, no.
Huh?
Oh, wait. It's,
Good time. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. Yeah. Okay. Everybody's yelling at their screen right now.
yeah.
I love that song because it's kind of like, these are the good times. So it's almost like Gooden times. You get
Oh,
it?
I see.
I see.
I would love that. They
Yeah.
should have walk-up songs. I would definitely have one.
I think we're pulling it up right now.
Who sings that?
Oh, I think it was Chic.
Yeah.
See, yeah, play it on the air a little bit. Give me a little taste.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna pull it up right now. "Good Times" by Chic would be Doc's, and look, we're not fronting right now. This is really, it's really Doc on the phone.
And then the second one, I will also have.
This one.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yep.
yeah,
All right. Okay.
that's it. Yes, I love
Ladies
it.
and
Love
gentlemen,
it. Love it.
now pitching,
Now batting
or now batting. Well, he would come out
with
it.
8 career home runs.
That's right.
Doc Gooden.
Hey,
And don't forget, it's a Mets record that would never be broken because no
that's
more
right.
pitches hit.
hey, Doc. Was it true that you were actually a natural lefty, and they wouldn't let you bat lefty because your right arm would be exposed?
Yes. So what happened? I used to switch it a little bit, but lefty was my natural side.
Yeah.
And one game I hit Ryan Sandberg and Rick Sutcliffe hit me in the arm. I had to come out of the game, and David said, "That's it for batting on the left side."
Uh-huh.
So I possibly, it's just me talking, I possibly could have had 16 home runs because the 8 was from the right side and the lefty is my natural side.
Yeah.
So I was Otani before Otani.
You were. Yes, I'm telling you, man. The fact
But
that
I got Otani beat because I'm the only pitcher that has a baseball card, pitching, obviously, running the bases, bunting, and hitting. Well, Tiny doesn't have that.
I missed the bunt. Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see Ohtani bunt.
Yeah, I think Topps now just made that card of Ohtani as we're speaking. All right, brother. I'll call you later. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Hold on. You got another rule. I got one more for you.
Oh yeah.
So, in '85, I was pitching. As soon as the game was over, I would like for them to play "Happy Days Are Back Again." That's by Silk and Keith Sweat. That's by Silk and Keith Sweat. Happy Days Are Back Again.
Okay. Keith Sweat. All right. And Straw said he wanted a song by Dougie Fresh. I can't remember what the name of it was, but he had told me that. I'm trying to find every '86 Met. I want to find what their walk-up songs would be.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to start putting it together.
Yes, sir. You have fun in life. I love it. Roger McDowell, I'm going to warn you. Roger McDowell's going to be a crazy song, guaranteed.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can play that one live.
Yep.
All right, buddy. I love you.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Later, pal.
All right.
So Chic.
Yeah. Well, I actually interviewed Roger for the Seinfeld finale, and I did a story on that episode, the Seinfeld episode with the second spitter. So I interviewed Keith, and I interviewed Roger for that. And originally, they wanted Daryl as the spitter. And Keith said Daryl was going through some stuff and things. So he said, you know what, that really would be something that Roger would do. And then they had Roger in there.
Classic.
And they so like you know the 7 line, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to 7 line, Darren Mina and everybody.
Darren.
So you get a jersey, you know, if you're in the 7 line. And my jersey, I got one of the Queens, and it says Steps is my name, and I have 12. So 12 steps. That's what I've got. And this year We Get Back Up, because that was the sign. That's the other thing that I was doing. I was holding a sign that I've never brought a sign to a game before.
Yeah.
And because it's very much a recovery thing, I wrote We Get Back Up, and we were losing, and I held it up there, and then I was on TV with that. And I made these pins. So here's a pin, brother. So here we go, right there.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. So,
Get Back Up.
So that's my name today on there. But there's a guy that has the name called Second Spitter, because you can't have recent players' names. You can't have the players' names that are out there now. So Second Spitter, I would say, like I was thinking another good one to do would be Finch, number 21, Sid Finch.
Yeah. Yep.
And everyone was talking about him yesterday. I saw that. And or Chico Escuela was number 5, I think it was. Yeah.
What would my name be?
I don't know. Should we do with maybe some music thing or something? I remember you wearing a jersey. This guy would walk around the halls of WLIR wearing a Chico's Bail Bonds jersey for the Bad News Bears. Tanner, I believe.
The great Tanner Boyle.
The great Tanner Boyle. Yep. By the way, when I tell people about my baseball career, which was awful, it's the reason why I went into hockey, is I was Ogilvy. I was skinny with glasses. I knew all the stats and everything, but I couldn't play a lick. Yeah, that was me. I was Ogilvy. And what a great movie. And,
I had a conversation with 3 of the Bad News Bears, the catcher, oh my God. Engelbert, Ahmad, and I think it was Ogilvy. And Scott Schwartz, who played the toy, who played Master Bates in the toy, who was gifted Richard Pryor.
He was gifted Richard Pryor, another very problematic movie, who went on to do a porn movie.
Yes. Yep. And at the time, I was doing some road work with Mel Brooks.
Okay.
You know, who obviously has some really, quote unquote, considered problematic films, maybe. Blazing Saddles, Blazing Saddles, possibly. And we were having this discussion about the lexicon of the Bad News Bears, the toy, and Blazing Saddles, and how it would work in the 2020s.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? It didn't. And those are all. I think it's safe to say that the 1970s was the greatest time for movies, and I think that. Followed by the 90s, I think those are the two biggies. But and then I remember so many though of those, like the toy. Yeah. I would tape, I asked for a VCR one year because I wanted to tape like SNL and all these things. And I had the toy on tape. I had Brewster's Millions on
Yeah.
tape too. So I've watched those movies so many times, and I could probably quote them. And they were just because this is before on demand. This was like whatever you had, you had.
Yep.
And that movie was not owning a man. Yeah, was not good. But
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason was
Yeah.
in that, and he starts a newspaper. I
Funny
love
enough.
that. I
Yeah.
love the fact that he started a newspaper to talk about what was going on against his dad too. I believe that was the thing. And Wonder Wheel was the remember he was Richard Pryor was on the Wonder Wheel.
100%.
Yeah.
We do talk about sneakers on this show.
Yes.
And I know we got to start wrapping up eventually. So, today you came in with a very special pair of shoes on. I see you got your Puma suede Clydes in the
Yes.
Mets colors.
There we
Happy
go.
birthday, Clyde Frazier, 80 years young.
Clyde, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but Jingle Mets did the song for Clyde. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I got to check it out.
Yep, they played it at MSG. So, so I've gotten to. I went to Ren Arts.
Okay.
And I got the Mets ones that are kind of like that muted suede, orange and blue ones that are the
Fire.
more the skateboard ones,
Yep.
And it's got the thick tongue, which I'm not a huge fan of. But then I saw these, and I wanted a pair of white ones. I saw these, and yeah, the colors obviously Knicks, but also Mets colors. I was walking around in DC, and somebody said, "Yo, those are great shoes." I said, "Yeah," and then he goes, "Tell Spike Lee, fuck you for me." So.
Never on our show. Yeah, this show is
like,
created in the love of Spike.
Yeah, I loved and I love Spike Lee,
Yeah.
and I went to the other side of the street because he kept yelling shit at
Yeah.
me. So that's DC for you.
Yeah, did he have a Celtics jersey on?
No,
even?
he did not. He did not. It's the Wizards. And what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So one of the things that I've seen, just doing actually vintage Mets is one of the guys that talks about what his fit's gonna be. I've started doing buying clothes that are orange and blue.
Yes.
So my fit. So I've had this shirt forever. And by the way, if you want to know,
look at this.
If you,
If
if you want to know why the Mets fans are the way that they are, on every ticket for 20 years, there was a picture of our mascot crying. Mm-hmm. That says something. He was crying because it was supposed to be the rain stub if the game was rain delayed. But the fact that you would have your mascot crying on every ticket,
Yeah.
that did something to a team.
That's
I
our
think.
character.
Yes. So, but I started, I never liked the combination of orange and blue. It's not a great combination fashion-wise. But now that the oranges and blues, you can get a little muted, you get a little this, and I love it because if you see orange and blue, there's so few teams that are orange and blue. Mm-hmm. And if it's baseball, it's going to be the Mets. And, there's some other teams. It could be, the Broncos or something. But you can really see that if you see somebody walking around. Okay, that's it. And I started buying, so I got this cardigan for opening day. Gonna have these shoes. Gonna have some nice blue slacks. Not really, I have some baseball hats, and I do buy a lot of them. But I've got a nice orange and blue flat cap too.
Very cool.
Yes,
Very nice.
Yeah. So, and I'm gonna go with that, and we'll see how it goes. Haven't decided on the shirt, underneath the cardigan. Before, but I've been getting into some vintage stuff and seeing that I love the vintage parking lot clothing. You know what I mean? Just like the stuff that I remember them selling. Just because they always were cool because they always had two sides and they always would list like the games on the back of them. Mm-hmm. So those ones that they would sell outside Nassau Coliseum, outside Shea. I had a great one with a caricature of all the 86 Mets on the back of it. So those were really good.
And huge in the vintage world right now.
Exactly.
Vintage hip-hop, they call them hip-hop bootleg shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. And I think that that bootleg stuff is great, and just how good the material was. Obviously, everybody, it's a lot thicker. It's what is it, one stitch instead of two, or however they call it. Yeah. So when you see those, I got like an 86, which I almost wore, an 86 division championship shirt, which might be a parking lot shirt, and because there was so few merch back then. One thing, if anybody, I've been trying to find pictures of the souvenir stands at Shea from like the 80s. I've never been able to find one. I found one from about the 90s, but just like And if you look back at like Ebbets Field and what they were selling in the 60s and the 50s, it was pennants. It was these buttons with like flags on them.
Yep.
They would sell a hat and maybe they would have one T-shirt. And then that was it. Never
Yeah.
jerseys, never anything else, maybe a bat, a smaller bat or something like that. But then that was it. And then, I think I was on the Fanatics site yesterday, the MLB site. It was like 6,000 things that you could buy with Mets on.
There's a great photo floating around. If you remember, there was a souvenir stand. It was like a licensed souvenir stand, but it was on the subway platform coming off the 7 going to Shea.
Oh, yeah.
It's still there.
They're still there.
Yeah, they're still there. But there's a vintage photo from sometime in the late 80s probably of that stand.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing though. I'm gonna look for the 60s and 70s photos.
That was always I have such interesting memories, especially going to Jets games, of that boardwalk. The fact that they made a boardwalk.
Yes.
And it would always confuse me as a kid thinking, am I at the beach? Or because it has that sort of beach type of feel to it. But my next tattoo is going to be the New York Pavilion from the World's Fair. I love the World's Fair stuff. And that was the New York Pavilion was always like, okay, we're here. We're at Shea.
Yeah.
And that was always, I just love the fact that, and just, I've been collecting a lot of like Mets in certain games, in movies and things, just like having the Met. I love the fact that in the rock band for the Beatles, they had Shea Stadium, and it was the camera was sort of going over in Shea, and then you had obviously Frequency was huge, Men in Black was great. So the Mets are a team, Odd Couple, they're a team that Hollywood loves to use because they just have these, it's misery, and then you have these magical moments, and in between you're dealing with life. It's like Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown was written because we lose most of the time. Human beings lose most of the time. And not to mention the fact that there is a lot of, he's surrounded by people that are pretty toxic. Lucy, who charges him 5 cents for psychiatric advice, and then one of the reasons why he needs to go to her is because she's yanking the ball out from him.
Lucy, not a good person.
No. And Snoopy also not that great. He's got a great life.
Yeah.
If you go back and I like Snoopy, but if you go back to the Christmas special when they announced that Charlie Brown is going to be the director of the Christmas pageant, Snoopy boos. Yeah. It's like, come on, what is
Snoopy
that about?
a little narcissistic, if you ask me.
I think, and he's in a world of his own, and he can do that. But I love Charlie Brown because he very much is us. And if you ever see the This Charming Charlie, have you ever seen those when people have put in Marcy lyrics, which is just perfect. So
Charlie Brown is the quintessential Mets fan.
he really is. And you know what I'm upset about? One thing I love the giveaway days. I've always loved them.
Yeah.
If you remember when we were kids, the giveaway days were not great.
And they were rare.
They were rare, and they would also the logo for the sponsor was always like gigantic.
Yeah.
And then there would be like jacket day, and it was like this weird rubber jacket.
Yeah.
And like the bat day was the only thing that was good then. But like you see the giveaway days now, they're good. They're really good stuff.
Hockey jerseys.
Hockey jerseys, which I didn't go to, so I had to buy that one on eBay.
Yeah.
And I wear it when I play hockey in front of when I'm in DC, I play hockey in front of the White House. So I wear my Mets jersey in front of the White House for that.
Real bobbleheads, not like the plastic ones they would give when we were kids.
Real bobbleheads. I'm definitely going to the Mr. Met in front of Empire State Building this year.
Why wouldn't you go to that game?
And then the Mrs. Met in front of the New York City Cab. Loving those. I started going through, it's like, who else has good ones? Because we have particularly a lot of good ones. Better than Yankees, better than Red Sox. Yep. The White Sox have a lot of the White Sox have one of the old Comiskey Park, like a model of it, but it's a radio. It's an AM FM radio too. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's my next purchase, by the way. My next purchase is an AM radio to listen to, because I still love listening to baseball on the radio, but I need crack light. I can't have high def.
Yep. Yeah. And baseball is it's so funny that you say that, because I was thinking about this yesterday. Just, it's such a game it's perfect for the radio, and then to be able to listen to it, you're creating pictures in your mind. It's so much harder to listen to hockey and football. Football a little bit easier, but hockey is really tough. But it really is just like that whole thing of listening to a baseball game, like in The Godfather. Remember they were listening to the game when Carlo gets beat up, which one of the worst fake punches in history
ever.
And Not to mention, but here's the irony: is that he broke a rib on that because of the toss. But it is one of the worst fake punches ever.
And if you know the story behind the scene, I don't know if you know it or not, Carlo was being very aggressive on set with Talia Shire.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. And Jimmy Kahn didn't like that.
No.
So there was a little realistic part of that.
Little extra stuff there. Yeah. So, you know, we very much were, when we were working together in that building, the Godfather kind of permeated that organization a little bit.
It was a thing.
It was a thing. We had one sales guy who did look very much like Luca Brasi, who they got to be talking to as Luca. Yeah. And we were also with a company that was a father and son dynamic. Yeah. And
boy, was the son was as handsome as a Michael Corleone could be.
Yes.
Oh, was he beautiful?
He had the hair and he had the suits and everything. And I believe I remember him saying, "I don't want to kill everybody, just my enemies." I think is what he would say.
No, we would drop quotes left and right.
Very much. Yeah. But that was we didn't do any merch though. I think we just did T-shirts. We could have done some really regular T-shirts that said Long Island Press. We could have done some merch.
Yeah, we could have done a fun thing.
And I love the old LIR logo. I once bought the old LIR logo on like Redbubble, and it came out awful, like whoever. But but and that's one thing is that going and working for that company, that was your identity as a teenager.
Yeah, you were. Who are you? Oh, I'm LIR.
Yeah. What do you listen to? I listen to LIR. Yeah. You didn't say what kind of music it was because they called it new music. That was it wasn't new wave. It was just, and voting for the Screamer of the Weeks. And the first one I ever voted for was, I think it was Trampoline by Julian Cope.
Wow.
Yeah, like 1987. And that was when then Joshua Tree came out. So it was all the Joshua Tree and then All Louder Than Bombs. It was like they were just going back and forth on those. But that was such a great time. And we were talking about, as far as fashion goes, I was never a sneaker guy. The only sneakers that we would wear were Chucks. Yeah. Because those were the cool sneakers. And then we would be able to draw on them. And then sneakers weren't anywhere near. And I love the collabs that we're seeing right now. And the collabs that I bought, the Universal Monsters collabs. Mm-hmm. You saw those. Those are great. I want to see. There were some other collabs. Somebody just came out with a Muppets collab or Sesame Street collab, but they're only for kids. There
was a Kith Sesame Street collab last year, and there was a couple more fun ones coming around.
Yeah, I like Sesame Street. I'm a big Sesame Street guy, big Muppets guy, so I'd like to see that. I did get the Kermit collab that they did. What was that? Was that Adidas, I think?
Yes, Adidas. Yeah. Yep.
And I do like the collabs. Let's see a good Charlie Brown collab. I would like to see that. Yeah. And the reason why I brought up the giveaways, by the way, it's the Peanuts 75th anniversary.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams are doing jerseys, and we're not doing a jersey, which is upsetting. So it's a Peanuts jersey. It's Charlie Brown's shirt, but it says Red Sox on it or whatever.
Man.
And we don't have ours. So
I know. Next week, Kith 75th anniversary. Peanuts drop.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep, I'll show you when we're done here.
Fantastic. I do like that. Yeah, but I really think that the convergence of fashion and sneakers and sports is just going to get bigger. And I love the fact that we really do have the best dressed guy in the league in Francisco Lindor. I think he really does. He takes a lot of chances.
Yep.
I think he looks great. And I think, I like some of the 7-line puts out great things. I did put in my suggestion. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. We need to see, you go to, popcorn buckets are huge now, right?
Huge.
Why there isn't a Mr. Met Head popcorn bucket that you could wear around your neck? $35.99?
Hold on, I'm reserving the URL right now.
That's the next thing that they should be selling.
That's big. That's big.
So, yeah. And, I just think that I'm just so happy to be able to go back and see this week and see all the buds. And then I'm going to a bunch of games in April. And I'm going to, I saw the Mets in England last year.
Yeah. You were on that trip.
Thing. Yep. And then I went to, I bought the Dodgers tickets. And the Padres tickets were twice as much as the Dodgers tickets.
Yes.
Because the Padres one of their first times. So I was rooting for the Dodgers, which was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. But we went to games. We had tickets for games 6 and 7. My son caught a ball.
That was incredible.
And got booed, which was great because he loved that. And unfortunately, we lost that game. But they really did. They didn't give up. They scored a run in that last inning. And it's a team that never gives up. It really is. There's a lot of life lessons there. And yeah, like I was saying, you know, my very first game I ever covered was the Mustache game, which is and I told Bobby Valentine this story. I said, that game traumatized me so much, I started writing about murder.
Yeah. Well, you know, you said something before, and I think it really leads to the credo of us as people, of the show, of the Mets, obviously. You know, life's about moments. It's not about legacy.
Yeah.
You know, and just whether it's with the Mets, whether it's writing a book, whether it's creating a TV show, whether it's, you know, doing a podcast, whether it's taking your son to a baseball game or cheering on for these amazing Mets that we love so dearly. Let's just let's continue making great moments and great memories.
100%. Thanks, brother.
You got it. Before we get out of here, of course, we're here at the Royal Native in Locust Valley. You got to check out Hilary's show, Never Over the Hill. We're going to drag her in to ask a quick question when she gets a chance. And and then we are going to get out of here. But there's so much good stuff going on here. So much fun things. And let's just, jump in the middle here. Jump in the middle here.
All right.
Of course.
Hi, guys.
Of course, it's Hilary Star de Roy, host of Never Over the Hill. And Hilary's one of those great people who could solve anything. So you've got the crime solver and the crime solver here on the couch. So go ahead. Here, you take the mic. Ask him a question.
Okay. Well, first of all, I was sitting here listening to you guys talking, and a couple times I'm like wanting to interrupt, okay, because I just saw the Peanuts exhibition in Paris called Le Style, Le Snoopy, and I was reading all about Schultz, like the way he dressed his characters and like all this stuff. And I, of course, had to name everyone in my life as a Peanuts character. I'm a huge Peanuts fan.
Who am I?
Well, so I am Lucy. And I'm like, Lucy is not a good person. Wait, but she is, but she's kind of a bitch, but she's also not. And like, but Charlie Brown's my husband. So it's really funny. But anyway, so I just was like overhearing this and I'm like, oh no, Lucy's not a good person because I named myself as Lucy. But anyway, question. So maybe I should ask one of the questions that I asked. Also, the baseball stuff. It's so nostalgic for me, and I totally love. I was like relating to a lot of that. Although my dad did not get into any fights at Shea Stadium, so I don't know if that makes me
Where's your dad originally from?
My dad is originally from upstate New York.
There you go.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yep. My parents, my mom's side of the family is from Queens.
Yeah, so
And
that side would have
your
fought.
mom would have fought.
Yeah, no, maybe my mom's dad. My mom's dad. Yeah, they were in Forest Hills and in anyway, then they ended up in Boca. Like many queens. Exactly. Question. Okay, so my question is a style question.
Shoot.
When you have to attend an event that you really want to feel like really like yourself, but like really like you bringing it like your best style, your best foot forward, what are you wearing?
Well, what type of event? Is it like a business casual event? Is it?
Yeah, not like a tuxedo event, but like something where you can pick like what you're wearing. It's not like you have to show up in a suit.
Don't have to show up in a suit.
A book launch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what? For my book launch, I was always like a black leather jacket guy. I had a black leather jacket, very thin, from Pretty Green, which was Liam Gallagher's company. So I used to wear that all the time, and it was so thin that it would rip all the time. I had to get it fixed all the time, but it fit really well. I've got very long arms, but I'm also I used to be slight, not that slight anymore, but like it was hard to find, because 25 years ago, you couldn't get larges with long enough arms.
Yes.
It was just the fits were different.
Right.
Now finally Hugo Boss has made long stuff and John Varvatos has made long stuff. So I put that away. I was just like, I'm not doing black anymore. So I do have I have a brown John Varvatos one, and I have like sort of like, it's almost like a shearling suede, something that they would wear on Yellowstone or something like that I tend to wear if it's kind of cold out. Those are my go-tos. I'm a big cardigan guy now too. I really try to embrace my my
Your
old- my
literary
oldness,
side?
my literary
Okay.
side, and also my 50s. So I do like just a cardigan maybe from, or chore coats. I got into chore coats, so a chore coat from like Todd Schneider. I've got a couple of those that I really do like. But
Yeah.
I also, when I travel, I like to travel really light. So I will only travel with like 2 short sleeve button ups, one from Todd Schneider, one from another place. If it's hot out, I'll wear a pair of like travel slacks, a what is it, an A t-shirt now, because you can't call it a guinea tee or a wife beater. You know?
Oh, like a ribbed tank
Sleeveless
top.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
My mom called it a guinea tee. That was what
we
were
call
Italian.
them wife beaters. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
still do, even though I know I'm very politically incorrect, so I'm not offended.
Yeah, and my we're Italian, so we're allowed to say that. And then like a shirt that's open over it, and then I'm not wearing them today, but my go-to shoes are Fluvogs that I got.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't heard that name in a long time, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I get Fluvogs did these anniversary ones that are purple and green, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go for it. And I get more compliments on those than anything. It's crazy. People stop me in the airport and say, oh, where'd you get those? Or I really like those.
I feel like that's the one thing that I hear all the time from my customers is when they're wearing one of my pieces, they get stopped all the time. So I feel like we're going to have to make him something.
I would
do it.
I would love that.
Okay.
100%. Like I said, like when we were talking before, I collect towels.
Right.
And I collect towels from theme parks, because a lot of times you'll have like when Splash Mountain was around, like Splash Mountain or the log flume ride at Great Adventure.
Oh, yeah,
you
Six
know?
Flags.
I don't know if Action Park must have had a towel at some point. I bet they did.
I can look on my for my special sources. That
You know what I want? I want a blood-stained Action Park towel.
People don't really, when that Action Park thing came out, I met the director, he's a nice guy, but I was one of those kids that you would come back. You would know who went to Action Park because I was all scraped up over here from the Alpine.
Yeah, it's
slide.
now you can. I mean, that's not a thing anymore.
No. I
but-
didn't. Yeah, but I think here's what's going to happen. We're going to exchange info. I'm going to start sending you like just from clips from eBay, stuff from eBay on like, look at this towel.
Yeah,
You know,
I will order
love
them for
doing
you,
that.
and I will make
No,
you
no,
something.
not even for me,
and-
just something
No,
that's
I
just
know,
like,
but
that I see that's
I would
crazy.
like to make you a men's. It sounds like you're a jacket or cardigan guy,
am,
and I'm
yeah.
totally the same for women.
Okay.
Like I'm in a blazer or one of my ragazzas or a trench coat or a chore jacket. I'm a jacket
Great. Yeah,
crazy
I
person.
do love the jackets, and that comes from being so skinny as a kid, and my arms were so thin, and I always wanted to cover them. So I would always wear I had the punk motorcycle jacket. That was my thing, and then I would wear an overcoat, and I would always wear them deep into the spring, and it would be really hot, but I would always want to keep wearing them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting for me, and then I'll check leave the
You could
scene.
just say-
But no, like I actually think it's very interesting to me listening to you guys talk and having my own podcast and hearing people's stories, and every single story that I hear, you relate to it somehow. And then also hearing about, you can ask anybody about what they like to wear, and there's always a story behind it. There's always some backstory, like what you just told me about your arms. Like, it's just interesting to me that everybody has stories behind where they got their style from. And a lot of times it's like kind of traumatic and they have to cover something, or they want to like hide something, and then they don't realize that like it makes them who they are, and it makes them dress the way that they feel like the most comfortable and the most themselves.
That's why on Soul Free we like to tell relatable stories through fashion. Oh wait,
isn't that me?
Yeah, that's your show. That's your show. Sorry.
I'm like,
Sorry.
wait a second.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do a party where everybody has to wear their oldest T-shirt, because your oldest T-shirt is going to be something that means something to you.
My oldest T-shirt is when I was 6 months old, so it would not fit me. It is a vintage, because I'm 47, a Snoopy, hand-painted Snoopy tank top, Carter's tank top that says my name, Hilary Star, in red, and it has a hand-painted Snoopy.
Now that sounds like something that somebody would buy at like the Roosevelt Field flea market, like back in the day.
I think my grandmother had it made somewhere, like back in I was born in the 70s, but like, remember they used to have, like, it wasn't the spray painted ones, but it was like, it was almost like,
It's like that puffy paint.
It wasn't puffy paint. It was just, I don't know. But anyway, I think I am going to dig it out, and I think I'm going to frame it.
What's your oldest shirt?
So interesting enough, my oldest shirt I never wore.
Why?
Okay, so we're gonna
Because
get
it was a
emotional for a
collectible
second.
item?
We're gonna get emotional for a second. So, when my father passed away, like, don't I know how to kill a room?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm glad
this,
you brought this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when my father passed away, in his suitcase was a gift for me. It was a 3/4 sleeve champion T-shirt. It was red and blue sleeves with an image of a football team on it, and it says, I think, some of us are just born champions. And
I
that was,
hope you framed it.
it's not framed, but it's it's in my
But you should frame it because art, like I love framing. I frame but towels. I frame towels. Some of them are just too good
Yeah.
to ever use.
But second to
that's
that
good.
though would be my New Year's Eve 1990 Orange Bowl with 90 going into 91, I believe it was. Guns N' Roses with Soundgarden opening up Miami. Yeah, I was there.
That's pretty good. Mine is probably 1987 Screen Stars. Remember Screen Stars? That was and bought at Roosevelt Field was a Smith's Queen is Dead shirt, 50-50.
Wow.
And it you can barely see the logos anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like I think you can.
Oh, this one. This is a Playboy one that I got in California. And wait, my favorite part is Gary. I'm Gary.
Yeah. So in the theme of today's show now, Bill, you're gonna find out Gary. You're gonna find who Gary is.
Gary is.
You know,
That's a weird font for the Playboy logo too. That's an interesting font. Yeah.
Yep. It must be limited edition. I don't know. Or maybe Gary
I
just...
love merch. I was like I started the KU hockey team. We were horrible, but we had the best merch.
Yeah,
like
merch
I had a
is-
logo created, everything like that, and we made cool T-shirts for the Phoenix too. Made like old retro T-shirts. Village Voice. I created a shirt that was just
Oh my God, I would love to have a Village
In the
Voice
bl-
vintage t-shirt.
in the block, the Village Voice, like kind of like in the same block lettering as like college from John Belushi,
Yep,
that
yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So I do like the merch.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I'm starting a little fashion line. I
What?
should have brought this up. Yeah. It's going to be called Will Wagon. And it's based around, the ideas of sobriety and men's mental health. And I'm going to be doing some upcycling. And
You
gonna be
need to
doing
connect with my cousin Michael Chernow. He has
Okay.
been sober 20 plus years. He is an entrepreneur. He has his own podcast. And I was on it last year talking about sobriety.
Oh,
And
great.
I'm going to
Okay.
connect you guys. He's the
Wonderful.
coolest. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I got a partner, Brooke, who has been he's been a creative director. He was over at Converse for a while. And we're going to do some cool stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
cool.
we're gonna have to debut it here.
We will debut it here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. We'll have a party with non-alcoholic cocktails.
Yes.
I mean,
And I've been-
mocktails.
Yes, I've been telling City Field we need some more mocktail,
And
or we
NA.
need some more NA beers too,
Yes.
because they only had NA beers they don't have it in draft, and they always have these really cool cups, and I love collecting the cups of like Mr. Met, but you can only buy a beer, you can't buy a.
I went
Yeah.
through, and I swear this will be the last story. So Kith night at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not a beer person at all.
I have to pop off because...
Okay, Hillary,
all
thank
right,
you for-
okay.
About to pop
Bye,
off.
Yeah.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you for sharing your space and your heart and soul with us here.
Yes.
Last story, I swear.
Yes.
All right, so Kith night has become a thing every year for the Knicks. It's the day of the Knicks Kith drop. Hence why everything I own is blue and orange because you have the Mets and the Knicks. So at Kith night, they have special cups. They have this, they have special popcorn. So I wanted a cup, but I have no interest in buying a beer.
Yeah.
So I say to the kid, I was like, listen, I'll take a beer without the beer.
Yeah.
So he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I'll just, can I just have the cup? No. Well, I'm like, no, I'll pay for the beer,
Yeah.
but just, I don't need the cup. I don't need the beer. Like, just give me the cup. He's like, oh, I don't think we can do that. I'm like, well, what? Like, just, charge me. I'm paying you. Just, don't pour the beer.
Yeah.
I literally went back and forth with him for like 5 minutes until he finally, like, kind of begrudgingly gave in. But it was the most ridiculous. Like, I couldn't buy the cup for $20 or ever how much a beer
Maybe,
is.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they measure the amount of beer versus the amount of cups that are. It's like a John
Yeah.
Taffer bar rescue
I
thing.
think
or
he'd get a
something.
bonus though.
Yeah,
No?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I would have said pour it in my hand
He
for a
should have just
nickel,
slammed it. Yeah, he should have slammed it and then
yeah.
given it to you.
I mean, if you know, in my younger days, I would have bought it with the beer in it and just
right.
pulled that. But I
You
felt
would've done- yeah, that would have been good.
yeah, not so good.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Jensen,
No, thank
like
you so
welcome
much, man.
home
We
on
could
so
keep-
many
I
levels.
I know. I'm in Long Island, on Long Island. By the way, when I did when we did Unraveled, which is about the Long Island serial killer for Discovery, I had to put a memo out saying it's on Long Island. Do never say in Long Island, and because you immediately lose all credibility with anybody if you say on in Long Island.
If you say in Long Island, you obviously dated Amy Fisher. Like instantly.
Amy Fisher, who worked for the Long Island Press.
Yeah, that was a moment.
That was a moment. And
that was a moment.
was on the radio station. Wasn't she on the phone? She was on the...
I produced her morning show, so I spent for like a year every morning with the Long Island Lolita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've definitely run into... Long Island is such a strange, weird place to grow up. And I like to tell people that it was... You know, we were the second generation, obviously, after the baby boomers. So we still had that idyllic part of the suburbs, of Levittown, of the Village Greens, of all of that. The Carvels and everything. Yeah. We still had that, but then we had the Ricky Casso story, and we had Amy Fisher, and we had the Martin Tancliffe, and all of this other stuff that was going on, Katie Beers. And it was, and I grew up in a school district that had two serial killers, Joel Rifkin, Robert Schulman. It was just, there was a lot of weird stuff that was going on out in, and they did one TV show. It was called Long Island Nights, I think. Yeah. One episode, and then that was it. But yeah, it was supposed to be about, and the guy's a cop from the city, and he's like, I didn't know everything was so crazy out here, that kind of thing.
It's a special place.
Yep.
It's a special place. And Bill, once again, I can't thank you enough. We could do this for another 15 hours.
We absolutely
and we will.
could.
We'll
do it again. We'll do some
next time from City Field.
I was going to say we'll do something from City Field.
Yeah, next time from City Field.
And the one thing I will say about City Field, I'm a huge fan, obviously, of Shea. We talked about Shea when they want to build the new hotel and everything. Yeah. I had a conversation with the guy that was running it. It seems like home plate is going to be inside the hotel, the Shea Stadium home plate. And he was like, no, it's not going to be. And I said, that's not good. Ooh. Because here's the thing. There's a little bandstand. That's going to be second base, where second base is, which is cool because that's where the Beatles played on second base.
Very cool.
But I was like, well, if that's the case, then that means that home plate's going to be there. It's like, no, home plate's over here. And I was just like, no, you're going a different way. So I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not. I really would not like that to happen. I'm very much a person that there's an energy where things happened. Yes. And I have taken etchings of there. I have taken etchings of first base, obviously. That's where Buckner and everything. So I really would like to see a field there or something. The fact that the Yankees completely disregarded their footprint, it's not even on that field anymore, I think is a travesty, akin to tearing down Penn Station. So I think I would really like to make that happen, but who knows? I do like the design of the new casino. So
it'll be a thing.
It will be a thing.
It'll be a thing.
We will be there.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you so much to Hilary and the Royal Native. Yeah. Locust Valley, Long Island. Seriously, we talk about a lot of fashion on Soul Free, and this is one of the dopest spots I've ever seen in my life. Just to see the creations, and each piece is a one-of-one piece of artwork. It's not a a wardrobe.
No one else is going to have it.
Yeah, it's not, I like that, let me get one. No. It's one of one. If you're in the memorabilia world, you saw what Paul Skeens just did. $1.1 million for the one-of-one MLB debut patch card. So, it's a very good deal if you come to Royal Native and pick up a Gazzata, Ragazza, and a Pragazza. And, of course, thank you to our dear friends at Optics, Hugo Boss, East Side Golf, and Porsche of Huntington. And, most of all, thank you to Bill Jensen. Bro, continued success on your life path. You're such an inspiration to so many. Congratulations on the upcoming 3 years.
Upcoming 3 years, God willing. And
it's
just I think I save more people. I get the emails of people saying I got sober because of you, and those kind of things. So it's that's as good of a feeling as solving that stuff. So yeah, and you meet. It's also opened up a whole ton of different opportunities to meet people and bond with people over this amazing community that's out there. So yeah,
Incredible. All right, we'll see you at Citi Field. It's Harlan, the official Harlan on Instagram. Check us out on all the major platforms and the Donna Drake Show, and we'll see you real soon.